Hi, I'm Vince, and this is MMU Education. If you've seen 3 or more doctors for the same issue, stop. All right, millions of Americans are dealing with chronic health issues, and they keep going back to the same doctors and the same system, wondering why they don't get a different result. Well, let me tell you about an alternative option you may not have heard of. There's this whole world of something called functional medicine. So you may have heard of a functional health coach or a functional doctor, for example. Most Americans, in fact, research shows less than 22% of Americans have actually even heard of this concept or know anything about it or know a resource of where to get it. Well, let me explain a little bit about what functional medicine is and how it's different than maybe just going down the street to your local doctor. So most of the medical world, the Western medicine, is based on systems medicine. There are 11 systems to the body, and each doctor is typically tasked with covering one system. So for example, if you go to an endocrinologist for your thyroid, you're in the endocrine system, okay? If I go to a GI doctor, I'm in the GI system, right? And so the challenge is that most people that have chronic issues, that means that they've dealt with a series of symptoms for 6 months or more, are actually dealing with multiple systems all at once interacting with each other to create a dysfunction, which is what they feel, right? They don't necessarily feel that one system. They feel the symptoms from multiple systems not working together properly, which is why modern medicine fails to solve majority of chronic health issues in America, because it takes more than one system. Well, there's a new fundamental approach, and it's not really new, but it might be new to you if you're hearing this for the first time, of practitioners or a method that looks at all the systems of the body or works on multiple systems at one time in order to create an outcome from you. They call that root medicine or functional medicine. And so why I like going to a functional health coach or a functional doctor is they're gonna look at all the systems that are involved in why you don't feel good, work all those systems together to create outcomes that modern Western medicine just can't create. This is why I dropped being a personal trainer. So 18 years ago, I got my start in the health field as a personal trainer. I love my personal trainers. I love the personal training field. I love what it can do for people. And I got my start, and I loved working with people one-on-one. I loved the closeness of it. I loved working with people on their fitness goals, and those things were great. But it became very apparent to me very early on that people would come in with a myriad of issues and expect me to solve them. But I was only equipped with one tool for one system, and that was using training to work the musculoskeletal system in order to create outcomes for people. But those outcomes that people wanted were dependent on more than just the system I was working on. So in functional medicine, which is a little bit different than personal training by itself, the idea is to look at all 11 systems, because there's 11 systems of the body, optimize them all to create an outcome in someone. As a personal trainer, I was limited to just the musculoskeletal system. It really showed up in my lack of results that I wanted to achieve, but it also hurt my scope of what I could work on with the client. And it also, quite frankly, the solution to everybody's problems couldn't just be resistance training, caloric restriction. There had to be something more. So as a personal trainer, as I began to learn from other doctors and other scientists, I learned about this whole other world, and I became obsessed with it. And I started learning about how the endocrine system, or maybe the GI system, or the immune system, all interplayed into why my client felt the way they did or wasn't getting the optimal result that they wanted. So I went on a journey to start learning about each system and then putting something I learned, a nutrient, a food, a supplement, or a protocol, putting it in my program so that I can now work on more systems inside my training programs. And eventually my results got so good that I realized that the personal training part of it could be easily simulated online, and I didn't have to spend hour for hour with every client working for $25 to $45 an hour, which I was at the time. So I dropped personal training and I moved into functional health coaching. All right, here is the #1 secret to overcoming any health obstacle or achieving any physical goal. But there's a caveat, you're not gonna like it. It's surrender. Dun, dun, dun. No one wants to hear that, right? It's like, what do you mean, Vince? Surrender. How is it that I want to start something and what you're telling me to do is the first thing I need to do to start something is to quit something? Well, the truth is that surrender, there's a saying that goes, surrender to win. And when I was young, I didn't really understand what that meant because surrender to me, well, sounded a lot like quitting. And I, in my mind, was not a quitter, right? I didn't give up on anything. So surrender sounded like defeat. And I would never want to admit defeat. But surrender doesn't mean not taking action. Surrender is the first action in success because what we do with surrender is we surrender our will, our way, our process, and turn over our will to another process. Maybe it's a health practitioner, maybe it's your personal trainer, maybe it's some form of coach. The art of surrender is the number one secret to overcoming any health issue. Any crazy result that you've ever seen on my page came because that person applied the number one secret. They applied the art of surrender. In order to achieve any big physical goal that the destination's gonna be really long, you have to give up your way. And so many of us don't wanna do that. And that's why we never achieve our goals or overcome our health issues. Hey, if you like this content, please do us a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. And if you would, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we make another video drop. All right, now let's get back to the video. Coaching, or the art of a coach, is to provide achievable metrics on the way to a goal, right? And that's a very simplistic terminology to describe coaching. I would argue that coaching is providing an experience, creating a relationship, and providing leadership through achievable metrics on the way to an outcome. That's what coaching is. But what you see today with personal training, health coaching, nutrition coaching, a majority of what you're seeing is not coaching. It's something called people pleasing, and it is rampant in our community and in our field. People pleasing is actually not coaching at all. People pleasing is actually a trauma response. That's right, a trauma response. Most coaches go through something really challenging in their life, and it's where the desire comes from to help others. The problem is, through the challenges that they have been through, they've learned unhealthy coping mechanisms. It is very common for a coach to immediately try to quell disagreements or uncomfortable conversations with appeasing and doing whatever it takes to make the person happy. But the problem is, the person you're coaching doesn't know what they need to be happy. In fact, if they did, or if they knew what to do, they wouldn't need you. In fact, most people have been working their program for a long time, and how far has that gotten them? There is no room for people pleasing in coaching. It kills it. To keep a position of a coach, you have to be willing to have uncomfortable, motivating conversations, working towards a goal together, right? That is not doing whatever it takes to make them happy and keep them paying your monthly fee. In fact, that'll just coddle people to stay the way that they are. I don't find that most coaching relationships lead to transformational experiences because we default to our lesser childlike state where we try to appease instead of coach and guide. I think it's really important for coaches to continue to develop themselves personally, work through their traumas, work with other practitioners to become the best people they can be so they can be the leader other people need them to be. Does stress kill? I think this is a reasonable question. We're a stressed out society, running around with stress all day long. We're not afraid to add stress and hold on to stress. But if it kills, why do we do that? Is stress a bad thing? That's a great question. Well, I think we need to understand first that stress in and of itself is a nutrient of growth, meaning nothing in the natural world grows without a stressor. If I go to the gym and I lift weights, that is a stressor on my muscle that then creates hypertrophy, right? But stress, is it dangerous? Overwhelmingly, research shows that stress is either the primary or secondary cause of 80% of hospital visits in the United States. But can it kill? This research here looked at how people perceived stress, not how much stress they had, but how they perceived it. If they were afraid of it, if they perceived it as bad. And overwhelmingly, the research was clear that if you perceive stress as bad, you had a 43% increased chance of early mortality. Furthermore, other studies have shown that just by answering the simple question, is stress bad, yes or no, will dictate how much disease and the level or quality of your life. People who perceive stress as good have way less incidence of disease, way greater vitality index scores, and way less early mortality. So it would appear that while, yes, too much stress is bad, it would appear stress is actually good. But your view of stress will dictate whether it harms or helps your health. So we as a world society are getting sicker than ever at the fastest rates ever seen in mankind. By 2030, 7 out of 10 people in the world will be suffering from some form of lifestyle disease, which begs the question, what the hell's causing it? Now, listen, that can be a very complex question, but you're getting a simple answer from the medical community, and it's becoming more popular online. People are saying that your genetics are the cause of most people's disease. In fact, I see medical companies all the time putting up signs that says obesity is not your fault, it's genetics. Genetics is causing your cardiovascular disease. Genetics is causing your heart disease. Genetics is causing your obesity. And while I feel for those people that are struggling with these conditions, unfortunately, the research is overwhelmingly clear. Take a look at this right here. This is a perfect example. This was research that's set to look out at how genetics play a part in the disease that we see in the United States. And most disease is chronic, meaning over 6 months, and it is a lifestyle-related condition. If you look at the NIH, American Heart Association, or almost any other health research institution, overwhelmingly 90%, at least 90 to 95% of all disease is lifestyle caused. Now, that does not mean that genetics are not involved. They absolutely are. There's a whole field of study called epigenetics, meaning how does our environment impact what genes are expressed? So while yes, your genes are a set of code that you have inside your body, not all of it is being read all the time. In fact, a lot of your choices dictate what genes are being read. So one of the ways I like to describe this is that if you were to get shot by a gun, the genetics would point the gun, but your lifestyle choices would pull the trigger. I think that's a really good way of looking at things, so that way, while yes, I love the field of genetic research. In fact, we use gene testing to help people heal faster by overcoming some of their genetic issues. But that being said, the primary onus on our health is in our hands with our lifestyle choices. If you're checking out my YouTube for the first time, please support us. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. If this content has moved you or inspired you in any ways, I would encourage you to continue to pursue more information. Come check us out at metabolicmentor.com, or all my content and everything that I do and create at vincepitstick.com. Or if you just want more information, day-to-day information, go check out my Instagram, Vince_Pitstick. Thanks.